Thanks for joining me on this magnificent morning in Merimbula. Today I'm going to start sharing with you a couple of mind exercises. This first one that I'm going to share, I've been very excited about. It's one of the most important gifts that I can hand to you. Now, this first exercise has been a complete life changer for me, and I've been really looking forward to giving it to you. I've been giving this a hell of a lot of thought on how I was going to present it to you because I understand how powerful it is. And if you want to improve your life, if you're starting a bit of a self-improvement journey, if you're ready to make a few changes, this is extremely valuable. So I really want you to take it seriously, and I hope at least one person out there listening to this might actually take it on and give it a go, because I'm serious, this thing can really change your life. It's so simple, but it does take quite a bit of work. So in this clip, I'm just going to set up the basics of this exercise. It can go pretty deep. You can use this exercise for a multitude of things in your life, but just to keep it nice and simple, I'm aware you're probably a beginner at this. I'm just going to give you the very basics, and then we'll probably use it in further clips in different processes that we use. I use this regularly, and I use it for dealing with not only staying focused on the task I have at hand, but also to deal with anxiety. Obviously, it's helped me along with defeating my alcohol addiction that I faced. It can also help you to become more creative. It can also help with dealing with some deeper problems you may have had in your life that you have never really taken the time to sit down and think about. But we'll go into that a little bit further in later clips. All I want you to focus on in this clip is learning the exercise and practicing it and trying to use it regularly in your life and starting to feel and find the amazing benefits which it holds. Now, before we get into working together to learn this mind exercise that I'm talking about here, I want to set the foundation before we move any further. Set a bit of a goal for what we're trying to achieve here. And the first point I want to bring forward to you is, what is it that you think that we as human beings are all striving for in life? What is it that we are all working hard for? What is it that keeps us going? Well, I think you'll find we're all in the search for happiness or fulfillment. We all have this craving to just have a happy, fulfilled life. Now, unfortunately, and this is the way I used to work, most people try and find this through material items. Most people are of the belief that if they make more money or have more goods, they're going to feel more fulfilled. But is this true? Now, to give you an idea and a bit of an example of how this materialistic thinking may have entered your life before, have you ever had a time where you've really wanted something? You know, it might be a new car or a new house or a new television. You know, it doesn't have to be huge, it could be something small. And you've just craved for it and wanted it, and you have this thought process going on in your head that if you could only get this thing, your life would be so much better, you would be fulfilled. But when you actually obtain the goods, you enjoy them for a little while, and then you just pretty well take them for granted or push them aside, and you start looking for the next thing. I see it a lot in my kids. They're always nagging and whinging for new PlayStation games or a new iPad or a new bike, thinking that this is going to be the pinnacle of their life if they can get this object. And when they get the object, they hardly even use it, and they go on to wanting the next thing. So, in that example, I hope I've shown you that that's not where fulfillment is to be found. So where is it to be found? So to help us understand where we find true fulfillment and happiness, I'm going to use a few quotes that have been given to us from philosophers over thousands of years. And the first one is from a 16th century mathematician and philosopher, Blaise Pascal. And that quote is, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." That's an amazing quote. When you understand the concept that I'm talking about here, and then you read something like that, you understand how brilliant these minds were. What's he talking about sitting quietly in a room alone? He's not talking about sound or hearing. He's talking about thoughts. The man who can sit quietly in a room in his own thought processes without going insane has mastered the world. So can you sit in a room alone without your thought processes driving you mad? How long could you sit in a room without reaching for your phone or switching the TV on or finding some way of distracting your mind and stopping your crazy thought processes? Have you ever given this any thought? Has anybody ever pointed this out to you? So where do our thoughts come from anyway? Nobody in the world has ever understood this. They just keep popping up on the front of our mind. Scientists say we have between 60 and 70,000 thoughts a day. Isn't that crazy? And they just keep popping up, one after another, 24 hours a day. They even pop up when we're asleep in the form of dreams. They upwell from our subconscious. So if we let these thoughts run wild, run rampant in our mind, they can cause major problems like anxiety, depression, and they can help us along in developing bad habits. Eckhart Tolle, the great academic, philosopher, writer, also has a quote. I actually have it on the homepage of my website because, once again, when you understand this concept and then you read the quote, you really can see how intelligent and powerful that quote is. And his quote reads, "True intelligence operates silently. Stillness is where creativity and solutions to problems are found." Now, once again, when he's talking about stillness, he's not talking about sitting still. He's talking about stillness of the mind. Finding a way to escape from the chaotic thought processes. So how do we do this? So we are starting to establish that true fulfillment is to be found when our mind is at peace. Now, this is very hard to achieve. It takes quite a bit of practice. And that's what this first exercise is all about. We need to find that passageway in between all our chaotic thoughts where we can be truly at peace. And this passageway, this place, is the present moment. Now, you may have heard of this before, and you're probably thinking, "Oh, I've heard this crap before, push that aside." But bear with me. If you can manage to find the present moment in your life, you will find everything will open up. You will start to understand what you're actually doing here and what you've actually been seeking. And that's what I'm here to show you. Now, I want to go on to another quote now from an extremely well-known ancient Chinese philosopher called Lao Tzu. And his quote is, "If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present." Now, these old quotes, once again, they've been handed down in these old teachings for thousands and thousands of years. They are so true. And when you can find and taste a piece of this present moment, you will understand what it's all about. So why do we find it so hard? And how can we find the present moment? Now, what I have learned, and what really amazes me about the search for this silence, for this present moment, is that we are all on it. But the majority of people aren't aware that they're on it. And I'm going to give you some examples of how people try and find the present moment. I'm going to start with some bad habit creating ways, and then I'm going to start with some really positive, great, hugely rewarding ways that we try and find the present moment. Now, the first bad ways, the first one is drugs. Drugs throw us into the present moment. When we've had a dose of good drugs, all our concerns about the past, all our worries about the future are gone, and we are just living in the moment. And that's why people get so addicted to it. And this is why I used to use alcohol daily. Think about all those people that go to the bottle shop every night and buy their few drinks. Why do they do that? To get themselves into the present moment, to push away all their worries, to silence the mind. So when you can start to understand this is what you're doing, and this is what you're doing it for, this is when you can start to really knock your problems on the head. Why do people stare at TV screens? Why do people stare at iPads? Why do people stare at iPhones? Because it takes away all their worries, their thoughts. It may be a massive time-wasting operation, but we are so addicted to trying to find this silence in our heads, this peace of mind, that we can't help but do it. Now, this takes me to a little bit of an offshoot here about marketing. How brilliant are these inventions? Think about the television. The person who invented the television was all over this sort of thinking. The person, well, look at Apple. Look at Steve Jobs inventing the iPhone and the iPad. They were aware that to get people addicted, they need to get them away from their thoughts and get them into the present moment. Think of my stand-up paddle business, taking people on lessons. Once I learnt all this, I became aware that what I'm actually offering is a way for people to get out of their thoughts. When you get somebody out on the water and you take them on a new experience, paddleboarding in a beautiful environment, they're forced into the present moment. And this is why it's so great. Now, that's an example of a good way to get into the present moment. So, 3 ways, 3 good ways, and 3 extremely rewarding ways to get into the present moment. The first one, sport. The second one, music. The third one, meditation. And these aren't the only ways. These are good ways to bring it to your attention. Let's look at sport first, and we'll look at surfing. I'm a surfer, so I can talk about that quite in an educated manner. How does this put us in the present moment? Well, when you're about to take off on a huge wave, and you're paddling and you're right on the edge and you're just starting to get that forward momentum down the face and you're looking over the edge, you are standing right on the edge between chaos and order. And what I mean by this is something could go wrong at any minute, or it could go extremely right and give you a blissful feeling. It's at that time that you're pushed into the present moment. All your worries about the past are gone, all your concerns about the future, and for those few split moments, you're stuck right in the present moment. And that's what makes it so addictive. That's why we sit in the car parks looking for surf every day. A lot of people don't even realise that this is why they're doing it. They're looking out there craving for this present moment. It's the same with all sports. Let's look at tennis. When you're locked in a rally and you're hitting the ball really hard with somebody else, you're in the zone. You're not even thinking. You're just hitting the ball and everything's just flowing beautifully. This is the present moment. This is the zone. This is what's so hugely addictive about it. This is what gives us all the reward in life. What about music? Music is an ancient form of getting in the zone, getting in the present moment, getting in the flow state. When you're playing a musical instrument or even listening to music and it's really connecting with you, all your concerns about the past, all your concerns about the future are gone, and you're just in this present moment. So I'm all about focusing on these good ways to achieve this present moment, this silence in the mind. They are the most rewarding. But the problem is, they are the most challenging to achieve. Now, I spoke about this in the goal setting video, about pleasure and pain. People like pleasurable things. They don't like painful things. Now, learning a sport or taking the time out of your life to play a sport and to get good at it, good enough at it, where you can get into the zone, get into this flow state, is challenging. It's hard work. It takes time. People don't like to go there because it's painful achieving this. Same with music. Learning a musical instrument to achieve this massive reward, this massive opportunity to be in the moment, this massive opportunity to get in the zone, to get in the flow state. It's challenging. It takes time. It's painful. So people don't go there. People tend to lean for the more pleasurable options, the easier options like the drugs, staring at screens, gambling, staring at poker machines. They take us away from our worries and just lock us in the moment. But the problem is they tend to create more worries. The easy ways tend to create more worries, and the hard, challenging, more rewarding ways tend to give us more fulfillment in life. And meditation is one of these ways. Okay, finally I'm up to showing you the exercise that I've been talking about. I know I tend to talk a lot, but I really needed to show you what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to find the present moment. We're trying to silence our minds. And today we're going to use this exercise, which is a meditative exercise. Now, I don't really like the word meditation. I think it scares a lot of people off. It scared me for years. Being a bloke's bloke, hard drinking butcher, I could never have imagined that I would find myself sitting here making a meditation video. So we don't want to overthink it too much. A lot of people think of meditation as sitting there with your legs crossed and your fingers pinched, and everyone has different ideas about this. All we need to do is find a nice quiet place to sit. Now, this can be on a chair like me, it can be on the couch in the lounge room, it can be sitting on a jetty, it can be sitting in your car down at the beach. I like to sit on a rock at the beach. I think that's the perfect place. That's where I really find this place easy. Now, what I want you to do first, and we are going to close our eyes. Now, the reason we are going to close our eyes is because I want to try and stop you looking around at things. When you look at things, you are promoting thought. And the whole idea here is to slow our thoughts down and to find that present moment, okay? So by closing our eyes, we are going within and we are pushing out all the outside distractions. The other thing I want you to do is to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now, I'm not going to ask you to breathe big, deep breaths like a lot of meditation courses will say. A lot of people will say, now take a big, deep breath in through your nose, a big, deep breath out through your mouth. Now, I find that can just make you feel uncomfortable. So I want you just to breathe the way it feels comfortable to you. But what I do ask is that you breathe through your nose and out through your mouth, because that's the way our body is designed to breathe. And I have found that's the way we function the best when we're breathing like that. I have actually found that when I'm in a race on my stand-up paddleboard, when I'm finding it really tough, I think I'll concentrate on your breathing and I'll start breathing through my nose and out through my mouth, and all the pain goes and I feel great. It's amazing. So, to get back on track, we're just going to sit quietly with our eyes closed, and we're going to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, whichever way is comfortable. Now, to begin this exercise, we're just going to sit here for 20 or 30 seconds, and I just want you to observe the thoughts that start popping into your head. And I've met a lot of people that have said to me, I've tried meditation before, it doesn't work. That's because they haven't given it the time. They haven't learned that what we are after is to find the moment, the silence in between all these thoughts. So firstly, we'll close our eyes. Breathe in through our nose, out through our mouth.
And I just want you to observe the thoughts that are popping into your mind. Now, I can guarantee you are having thoughts like, oh, I feel like an idiot doing this. This guy's a crackpot. But just let them come. The whole idea of this initial introduction, I want you to let your mind run wild. It doesn't like sitting here quietly. And just feel what I was talking about with that Blaise Pascal quote about man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Let's just do this for 20 or 30 seconds and see if you can do it without your thoughts driving you crazy. So how did you go? Did you find that your mind was just chaos with thoughts? It's going to be very hard to clear up those thoughts. But now we're going to take the exercise a little step further. This is going to take you a lot of practice. The best I can do is give you some tips and the way I used to find this present moment, this silence, and then hopefully you will take these ideas away and practice, and hopefully you can find your own peace, okay? So what we're going to do the same thing again, but I'm going to talk you through it, and I'm going to try and get you into the present moment, okay? We're going to have a go at it. Don't panic if you can't get there. This, as I said, this takes quite a bit of practice. So once again, we're going to sit quietly with our eyes closed, and we're just going to comfortably breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. Now just let those thoughts come. And the whole idea is not to try and get rid of them, just allow them to come. Just allow them to pour in. There'll be crazy thoughts there. Now we want to try and slow our thoughts. As I said, that's why we've got our eyes closed. But we can't close our ears. As you can hear, I've got a lot of bird sounds here. So I just let those bird sounds fall onto my eardrums and just accept them. I don't name the birds because that's promoting thought. And what I mean by that is I don't try and think, oh, that's a bellbird. Oh, that's a cocky. Just let these sounds come and just accept them. Keep breathing. Now I'm going to rush through this a little bit so I don't lose your concentration. Now what I want you to do with these thoughts that are pouring into your mind, and this is a technique that I used, just picture yourself accepting them and then pushing them away like this. So just picture yourself accepting these thoughts and then pushing them away. So what we are achieving here right at this moment, we have our eyes closed, so we're not receiving any thought from external points. We're just allowing the sounds to fall onto our eardrums, and we're not too concerned what they are, we're just accepting this sound. And we're just being the observer. We're just observing these thoughts appearing on our mind. When you start doing that, you are in the present moment. You have become the observer. Now just practice pushing these thoughts away one at a time. Now I want you to do this for as long as you can. Once you find that present moment, well, I know I could just stay there all day. It's a beautiful place. But it takes time and practice. So just sit here for a while and practice that simple exercise. Now, sorry to interrupt again, but I just want to talk about the second part of this exercise. So now we've been introduced to this basic technique of meditation and trying to find the present moment in amongst all your crazy thoughts. How did you go, firstly? Now, there's a second stage to this simple meditation that I want to show you, and that's to give a bit of gratitude, to introduce some positive thoughts yourself. So we've got to the stage where we're sitting with our eyes closed, we're just accepting sounds, we're not questioning anything, we're breathing in through our nose, out through our mouth. We've got to a point where we're the observer of our thoughts, we're pushing our thoughts away. When we become the observer of our thoughts, we're watching our thoughts come in, we are in the moment at that point. It's a beautiful place to be. We're starting to have a bit of control of what's going on in our head. Okay? Now, you will get better and better at this as you practice it. A matter of fact, when I start, as soon as I sit down every morning to do my routine, I can basically just go straight into that place. It's really amazing and it's so addictive and it's so good for you. That's why I'm trying to promote it here. Now this second stage, this positive thinking, this gratitude stage. Now we're going to kick off again where we were at. So our eyes are closed, we're accepting the sounds, we're breathing in through our nose, out through our mouth. We've been doing it for quite a while, we're feeling great, we've found the present moment. Now I want you just to accept some positive thoughts. Now the way I do this, I always start by thinking about my kids. I've got 2 little boys and I picture my kids in my mind and it always makes me smile and I have a few thoughts. I'm not saying this is the way you've got to do it, but this is what I like to do. And then I'll think about my family and then I think about how lucky I am to have my home and I think about surfing and sometimes I'll even sit there and picture myself on the perfect wave and I'll think about all the good things in life, all the things that give me heaps of meaning in life. And that's quite a beautiful place to be as well. And I'll spend quite a bit of time in there. And then I'll just gently come out of it. And I do that every morning. Now, can you imagine if you added this to your morning every day or to your day at some stage? Do you think it'd be a better start to the day than the way you are starting your day now? You may even only spend, well, probably 15 minutes, I would say, at a minimum, because it's quite hard in the beginning to get into the process of it. But maybe you should try that. It can really change your life, just adding that simple practice every day. And I can guarantee, once you get really good at it, you will never look back. It's one of the most beautiful things you can add to your life. So I'm Steve from Flow Self-Improvement. Thanks for joining me on this educational video, and I've got plenty more to come. Have a great day.